And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Saturday morning's flying weather chart looks something like this. A lot of IFR, that big storm coming into the Bering Sea, extending into the Yukon Delta coast northward there to the Bering Strait, and more IFR into the southwest interior, all the way east here to the western Alaska Range, and some more IFR over the western and central Copper River Basin, smaller area there just south of Eagle, and marginal VFR, Kodiak Island, much of the Gulf of Alaska, VFR for the southeast coast, and for the afternoon, good VFR, central northern interior, again, Arctic coast included, and VFR, eastern Copper River Basin, down across the southeast coast. IFR here, narrow band along the eastern slopes of the western Alaska Range, in across the southwest interior. Kodiak Island has some IFR now spreading in from the south, and IFR continues here over the Yukon and portions of the Kuskokwim Delta, northern Bering Sea, and southward just to the central and eastern Aleutian areas. And then for Sunday morning, IFR, northern Bering Sea here, in across Nunivak Island and along the coast of the Yukon Delta down to just west of Cape Newenham, and more IFR here, southern Kuskokwim Valley, Kamishak Bay area, Iliamna, and the southern Kenai Peninsula into western Prince William Sound, southeast flow here, the usual pattern. Lower conditions again on the eastern slopes of the western Alaska Range, becoming marginal as you head toward the Alaska Range. The north of the mountains there, VFR, possibly still some remaining marginal VFR there for the 40-mile country. Otherwise, VFR all the way up to the Arctic coast. Marginal now for the Aleutians and the Alaska Peninsula. And still VFR for the southeast coast there. And for the Sunday afternoon time frame, marginal VFR still hung up along the coast there, but some of it trying to push into the inside waters, especially up here to the north, but nothing too significant. Weakening front here with a band of IFR there into the Gulf of Alaska. And again, southeast flow pushing that right up into Prince William Sound with the lowest conditions here over western Prince William Sound. And downsloping makes for marginal VFR for Cook Inlet and the Susitna Valley. Then back to the IFR there along the western Alaska Range, on down into the northern Bristol Bay area with VFR holding over the interior, all the way up to the Arctic coast again, the Chukchi Sea, good flying weather there. Aleutians becoming VFR here, improving considerably there into Bristol Bay with the IFR over the northern Bering Sea. Passes Anatuvik and Adigan, another VFR day coming up for both those passes for Saturday. And Lake Clark and Merrill, IFR, or becoming IFR in the afternoon. Rainy, same pattern, IFR, lowest conditions. All three of those passes, Lake Clark, Merrill, and Rainy, will be on the eastern entrance here. Windy, marginal VFR, call it marginal for Isabel as well, but Mentasta going for a VFR day for that pass. And Tanita, marginal VFR, Portage IFR, especially on the eastern entrance, and Chilkoot and White, VFR. And then for the freezing levels here, right across Kodiak Island, just south of the North Gulf Coast tomorrow morning, down across the Panhandle, and then warmer air coming up with those with that big storm here, 2,000 to 4,000 feet over the southern Bering Sea. And a widespread area of considerable moderate icing here, pushing up towards St. Lawrence Island, covering much of the central Bering Sea southward into the Aleutian, swinging slowly eastward, especially with the front, more of a northeast push here, Kodiak Island, into the southwest interior, and eventually coming up Cook Inlet, otherwise icing free to the north and east. And the jet stream here showing a strong northwest jet here across the southeast coast up to 115 knots with lighter winds over the interior areas. And that intense low here keeping the Pacific jet to the south, but one branch angling up toward Kodiak at 95 knots. 9,000 feet, intense storm here again over the southern Bering Sea coming across the Aleutians tonight and early tomorrow. And anywhere from 60 to 75 knot winds blowing around that center there, diminishing into the interior, becoming light over the northern and eastern part of the state as well as the Panhandle. And that light wind pattern continues into Saturday, or at 3,000 feet here for the eastern interior and southeast coast. And 3,000-foot winds pretty strong here across Kodiak Island, southwest part of the state, up across the Yukon Delta into Norton Sound, and just south of St. Lawrence Island, 65 knots there. Westerly 70 knots over the southern Bering Sea, and especially the central and eastern Aleutians tomorrow into the Alaska Peninsula as that low center slowly lifts northward. Turbulence, look for or expect severe turbulence, surface 5,000 feet here, roughly about Cold Bay or so, maybe over toward Nelson Lagoon, westward all the way toward Adak and Atka, with a big area of moderate turbulence over the southwest interior, Norton Sound, and a good portion of the Bering Sea working in across Kodiak Island and in towards southern Cook Inlet.